My dear God's loving people, we are at the threshold of Christmas, celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ. I'm sure you must have prepared a place, a crib for Jesus to take birth at your house. So let's reflect upon building a dwelling for God, for Jesus Christ, for baby Jesus. The first reading is a very remarkable passage in the entire Bible, for it contains the prophecy of prophet Nathan regarding David. David was a very famous political leader, a seasoned military man. We know he was the second king of Israel, yet he was dear to Yahweh and was a deeply religious man. He was the one who paid special attention to the Ark of the Covenant that was neglected by King Saul at Bethel. He brought it in a great procession to Jerusalem, for it was a symbol of God's presence and God's name amidst his people. Now David was well settled. He had everything. He realized that he was living as a king in a beautiful palace, well-furnished palace with cedars. But the Ark of God, the Ark of Covenant, had no permanent temple or a place. And so he wished to build a temple for God. And it is at this juncture we have the famous prophecy of Nathan regarding the dynasty of David. It is one of the most important passages in the entire Bible and the starting point of Messianism, which is linked to the person of David. This prophecy is the source of all the subsequent prophecies which we find in the book of Psalms and also in the book of prophets. The idea of the prophecy is this. God says to David, "You want to build a house for me, but it is not you who will build me a house. It is I who will build one for you." Namely, a line that will never disappear, a throne that will last forever. The meaning of a house to live changes to a house in the sense of lineage as house. In the first place, the prophecy of Nathan was a promise of help, generosity, and perpetuity. And in the second place, it pointed to a future Messiah. This prophecy will be fulfilled in various stages, one transcending the another, but it will find its complete fulfillment in the person of Jesus Christ. And therefore, in the gospel passage of today, we see the angel of God coming to Mary and announcing the good news, saying to her, "The child that will be born of you will be by the power of the Holy Spirit. He will be called the Son of the Most High. He will sit on the throne of his ancestor David, for he will reign over the entire house of Jacob, and of his kingdom there will be no end." You see the connection between the New Testament and Old Testament? Yes, the perpetuity that was promised to David is in the person of Jesus Christ. Now God had said to David that he would build a dwelling, a temple for David in his lineage. And that would not just indicate God's presence, God's dwelling, but it would literally become incarnate. And that happened in the person of Jesus Christ. The dwelling, the temple that God built in the lineage of David was Jesus Christ, who said later on in the Gospel of St. John, "Destroy this temple and I will rebuild it in 3 days." For he was speaking of the temple of his own body. God never dwelt permanently within a person. He was always with his people, starting with the cloud, and then he started residing in the tent, and then in the Ark of the Covenant. Then a Spirit of God gripping a person, but never in a human being. It is only in Jesus Christ that God began to dwell within a person. And Jesus himself is that person, the presence of God. It is only after the ascension of Jesus Christ that he sent the Holy Spirit to dwell within us. And by the sacrament of baptism, God began to dwell within us. God's presence was within us from the time of our baptism. Is that God's presence within you? Reflect and see. If not, this is the perfect time to prepare a beautiful dwelling for God, a dwelling for baby Jesus. This dwelling has to be well furnished by the grandeur of our goodness and the beauty of our pure soul. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a beautiful time during this season. God bless you.